Hello, how are you doing today? Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And today we're going to talk a little bit about rest, relaxation, vacation, all of those things that end with IN, I guess. And while we're waiting for everybody to show up, in case we haven't met, I'm Kelly Howard, and I'm known as the fitness consistency coach with a touch of adventure. But unfortunately, I noticed my adventure was slipping lately, and that's what brought this particular chat up this time. So, what you can do is if you've got questions, put them in the comments. If I don't get to them right away, I will come back and get to them after the live. And so sometimes I don't get to answer them while we're here. So just make sure that that if you've got any questions, drop them in. And I'm going to take a sip of water because I seem to be losing my voice. And that doesn't work very well if you talk for a living. Sorry. Thank you again for being here. So today's episode chat came from something that happened to me just recently. And basically, like the short story is I had something that was on my calendar. I'd taken time off for it. It had to do with family. Took time off for it. Like I had 3 days off, 4 days off, 5 days off maybe, that I was going to take care and spend time with various people in my family, doing some different things. And then everything changed. All the plans got changed. And so I ended up without my family. So the funny thing about it though is that here I was, I had this space already blocked off on my calendar. I already knew, that this was my time. And what did I do? This is what I did. I dove right back into work. I just didn't even think about switching what I was going to do. I didn't think about trying something different. I flat out just didn't think. And I reacted from that place of, I have so much to do, I might as well just get back to work. And today, I'd like to call baloney on me and maybe a few of my clients too that have been doing the same thing lately. So thank you so much for being here. So yes, I'm embarrassed to say, but it's the truth. I never even thought about taking that time that I had already blocked off and doing something just like going, hey, why not? Why not just rent an Airbnb? I live not that far from a beach. Why not do something different? No, I went to work. And the funny thing about it was just earlier in the week, I had been on a call with a few clients, and basically the theme of the call, it wasn't supposed to be the theme of the call, but the theme of the call became how busy everybody was and how they just felt so overwhelmed. Like this time of year, it's supposed to be like a fresh start, and instead it feels like we're just scrambling, like we're like one of those little hamsters on a wheel, just running like, like the hounds of hell are after us. And the truth is that we all do it. Like we all do it. I mean, of course, I'm calling baloney on myself here, but I've seen everybody else do it. And the funny thing is, there was a time in my life I didn't do this. And I was thinking about this. I woke up thinking about this actually. Years ago, many, many years ago, I was a partner in a boat, in a sailboat. And there were 3 of us. And it was myself and 2 guys. And both of the guys owned yacht brokerages. So they worked selling boats. And the 3 of us had this boat together. But the boat didn't get used. Like it was really sad. Like the boat just didn't get used because they were always working. And I remember one day just saying, "Hey guys, let's go for a sail." And they both said, "Nope, I'm too busy. I can't do it." And I said, "Then we should sell this boat. This boat is a ridiculous thing for us to have because we don't use it." And I said, "We need to go." And one of the guys went, "You know what? You're right. We should go out for a little sail." So we did. We took off. We just took the afternoon off. It wasn't even a big sail. It was like maybe 3 hours. We were out there sailing around. And at the time, one of the guys called me I don't remember exactly what he called me, but it was basically like, all I ever wanted to do was play. And I remember being actually kind of embarrassed because I thought, oh my gosh, that's right. Like I'm not serious. I'm not serious enough. Can you imagine? I am not serious enough. I just want to play. And yet, I had a very successful business at the time. Um, and I worked my schedule so that I had time to play because I learned a few things very young. And sometimes I forget them now that I'm maybe not very young again. I'll just call it that. But one of them is that when we take time off, when we take time for ourselves, a lot of times we feel like leading up to it, and I'll talk about the whole leading up to it in a second, but like leading up to it, we feel like, oh my gosh, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to do this. What was I thinking? I need to cancel. This is just not going to work. I can't tell you how many people over the years have canceled on retreats that I've led. And usually it's like the day before, and there's a reason, quote unquote reason, but always that reason, if I poke at them a little bit, is that they're just too busy. They're too busy to go. And I'm like, you're never too busy to go. Come on, let's go play. But they are. They're too busy to go. And it's not because they have bad planning or they didn't do a good job of getting ready to leave or whatever it is. It's that we have this feeling like, I don't know. It's almost like we feel like we need to have permission. We need to have permission to take time off and go play. And that was kind of like with my friends that owned the boat with me. Like I basically shamed them into it, right? And I said, like, I'll give you a permission slip. But really, for all of us, and I could ramble on this for a little bit, but I'm not going to. I'm going to try and wrap it up a little bit. But it's so easy for us to put everything else first and then add ourselves after. Like me, what I just did. I went ahead and just went right back into work instead of taking that little time off that I had, unexpected time off. So here's what happens when we travel or take time off. Okay, I'm going to use these interchangeably. Okay, and usually traveling's maybe, I'm going to call it better, simply because when we're away from home, um, our responsibilities become less, right? Like when we're at home, even when we take off time at home, a quote unquote staycation, I think staycations sound amazing, but they don't usually work, because if we're staycationing, if that's a word, staycationing at home, what happens is that we've got all those things in the house that need to be done, all those little responsibilities running around, and so they nag at us. That's why I think that it's so important to get away, take time out, whether it's just away for a day. And we can talk about that in a second, but away for a day can do as good for you as away for a week or even longer. So, but let's say that away for a day or away for a week, why you need it. One thing is that we need to do things that are different in our life. Like when we get caught in that same old, hamster on the wheel kind of thing, we get less shiny. What's a good word? We get less happy in life. We get stuck in a rut. We'll just say you're stuck in a rut. And when we do that, life isn't as much fun. So we need to find that fun in life. Yes, I'm all about play, whatever. That's the way it is. But it works, okay? Even if it's just playing for a few hours. So you feel better. You get rested. Like, I can't tell you how many people have come on retreats with me. First day, you can tell, you can just see it in their eyes. They are frazzled. They're a little bit freaked out because, oh my gosh, they've just, maybe they're traveling somewhere with me where we don't have a lot of cell coverage, which is my favorite place. So they're already worried about, how am I going to connect with people? What am I going to do? So on and so forth. And those first couple of days, they're a little beat up. They're not sleeping great because they're in a new place, and everything's different. But then it's usually about day 2 evening, or maybe day 3, everything starts to shift. You can see everybody gets a little brighter. They just get a little lighter. because all of a sudden they're not tied to their computer. They're not tied to their phone. They're not tied to all the should haves and could haves and got that do's. They're just having some fun, right? Maybe we're running around in a jungle, or we're kayaking on a river, or whatever we're doing. We could be doing anything. It doesn't matter, but we're having fun and we're laughing and we're playing and we're trying new things. And our brains, the brain fog lifts, right? The brain fog starts going away. Everybody starts sleeping really well. Like, I mean, that's one of the things I always hear. First, usually it starts off with, oh, I didn't sleep very good last night. I was thinking about everything I had to do. That third night or second night or whatever night it is, boom, they're out like a lamp and they're having great sleep. And they wake up and they feel good. They're doing things for themselves. We eat well, right? We eat better because we eat better because I think, partially the meals are planned, not always, but a lot of it, like breakfast and stuff like that, are planned. But we also take the time to sit down, to chat over coffee, to enjoy some fruit together on a fruit plate, to, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's just that relaxation. We get recentered. We suddenly come back to what really matters to us, what matters in life, why we do the things that we want to do, and why and sometimes why we forget to do the things that we want to do and that we should take care of. So we have this thing where when we step away from everything, and I'm on the travel section right now, so we step away from everything, or even, okay, let's just say you're staying at home and you take a day off to go to the woods to go for a hike, or you go somewhere to go kayaking, or whatever it is, doesn't matter. You step away from what you normally do. What happens is that we start getting a new perspective, right? The brain fog goes away and we just feel enlivened. Enlivened is probably a really good word. And we don't do that for ourselves enough. So think about like ways to know that it's time. One way to know it's time to take a vacation, right, is you start catching yourself being tired, feeling like you've lost your spark, not excited, like, waking up and being kind of like ho hum, having that brain fog, always feeling like there's no time. When you always feel like, okay, this is a really embarrassing one, but I'm going to tell this one on myself. So years ago, I started doing this. When I caught myself feeling like I didn't have time, I don't have time to do this, I don't have time to do that, whatever it is. There's this song by the Subdudes, a million years old. And the refrain was something about, and I'm not singing it, don't worry. I have all the time in the world. That's the refrain, something along those lines. Whenever I would get to that point where I was suddenly like, I need to work faster, I need to, do things harder, I would just stop and just sing that song. I've got all the time in the world. And what would happen is that I would suddenly realize that, you know what, if I'm late, I can call that person and tell them I'm running late. I can move things around. I can do things to take some of the stress off me. Because in the end, that's what this is. It's removing some of the stress from us so that we can live the lives that we really want to live. Sometimes travel can be stressful, but usually if you do it right, the stress that comes with travel is the stress of something new. Like I had one of my clients who came with me to, it was a Costa Rica trip. And I asked her afterwards, and I'm going to have to paraphrase it because I don't remember exactly how she said it, but I said afterwards, tell me about the trip. So what did you like? What did you not like? What would you do different? Like, what's going on? And she said, well, the truth is that I was out of my comfort zone for 80% of the time, or maybe 90% of the time. I was so far out of my comfort zone that I didn't know what to do, but I just kept doing it. And now what I realized was I slept really well, and she doesn't normally sleep well. I'm super proud of myself. And the thing I'm most proud of myself is that last day when you, pointing to me, when you said, let's go do XYZ, I said, nope, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to stay in my room. I'm going to read. I'm going to lay on the beach and I'm not going to do anything. She said, I felt really proud of myself for doing that. And I went, you know what? I'm really proud of you for doing that too. And that's the thing, is just like she found that connection with herself to do whatever it was that she really needed to do. And she left that trip glowing, like literally glowing. And so thinking about that, like let's stop and make some like steps that we can use here. So one step is looking at the symptoms in your life, because this is a funny time of the year, because it's supposed to be that whew, things are just rolling and rocking now. And usually we feel a little scrambled, like we haven't gotten the things done that we said we were going to get done right away. So stop, look at your symptoms. Okay. Are you finding that you're feeling a little overwhelmed? Okay. And then the second one is, and these are the hard ones, and I'm going to challenge myself as well as you. One, book before you need to go. Book time off, book space in your calendar, book that massage and that afternoon at the beach. I don't care what it is, but book something that sounds a little scary, like, oh my gosh, I don't have time for that. Book it and treat it as important as if it was the family that you need to take care of, the business that you need to take care of. It doesn't matter. Book it as if it's the most important thing, as important as everything else. Okay. And then take a few minutes to dream. Okay. Like, just think about it. If you wanted to do things, like what would some of those things be? Could be a day trip, could be a month trip, could be a lifetime trip, does not matter. Like, what are some of those things that have been running around like really quietly in the back of your mind? And every so often they pop up and you think, ah, that would be fun, but you know, that's for somebody else. What are those things? And write them down. Okay. You know me, I love to journal, but the truth is that when you journal like this, then opportunities happen, not because it's magic, but because you suddenly recognize them. Things suddenly show up and your reticular activator sees them because you have said, hey, this is something I want. So write them down, make some plans. I mean, if it's too scary to put dates on those plans, at least do one, make that one first date with yourself for however long you're going to go, whether it's a day, a week, whatever. And then two, do the dreams and just know that they're there and start looking around and seeing what's possible. And then three, ask yourself what's in the way. Okay. Like, what's in the way of having that? I can give you like, okay, this is a for instance for me, but I'm just going to use this because this is a thing that this is me. So, a couple years ago, I was doing probably about 3 years ago now. I was doing a lot of whitewater paddling, except that to go paddle took me about a day and a half drive to get there because I had to bring my boat. I didn't fly, and then a day and a half back. So now I'm at 3 days of travel. It's kind of hard on you, all those 3 days of travel, and I couldn't really do anything spontaneous because I knew that this was, a driving trip. I've got my boat in my car. It's a thing. So I thought about it and I went, okay, there's got to be an easier way to do this. So what I did was I bought spare gear, a spare PFD, a spare paddle, a spare skirt, spare helmet. And I took my boat out and I left it with a friend and I left my spare set of gear there. What that allowed me to do was jump on an airplane, fly to wherever, Atlanta, rent a car. Like, they always had these special deals going. I could fly to Atlanta, rent a car, go paddle for 2 days, and it cost me nothing practically, and less than it cost in driving over there with the gas. So that was one of the things that I realized was in my way, was actually having what I needed and the drive time to get there. So that's one instance. Another instance of something in the way. It could be that we think we can't afford it, right? And there's this trip. Think of a trip that you want to do. You go, wow, that looks so wonderful, but I can't afford that because A, I don't have the resources for it, and B, I'm going to have to take off time from work, and C, blah, 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 right? Start looking at other options. I mean, there's actually a ton of different ways to travel. And if you're not married to traveling first class, then you can find other ways to travel. I mean, I have friends who do a lot of traveling by simply going along on trips and helping out the tour guide. All right, they'll find a tour guide doing something that they like to do, whether it's hiking or backpacking or kayaking or just touring, and they offer to be an assistant. They're super helpful. They do lots of stuff, and they get the trip for free. So all they end up having to do is pay for food and flights. So there's a lot of different ways of doing this, okay? Lots of different ways. One thing we've all learned is how to, not all, but most of us have learned how to actually work remotely, right? Like maybe you can, like for me, sometimes when I travel, I'll take my laptop, I work 3-4 hours in the morning or 3-4 hours in the evening, maybe 5, and I get a lot of work done, and then I've got all the rest of the time to play. So look at some of those options, because when we want something, sometimes we don't see the possibilities because we only see the way we think it's supposed to be. So look outside the box. What are some of the different things you can do? And one of the easiest ones is just take that one-day trip. Find somewhere close to you that you can go away for overnight, or just for the afternoon, or whatever it is. Like make it, schedule it, make it important, and stick to it. And sticking to it is probably the hardest part, but that's when, you get somebody, you get me, or you get your friend, or whoever it is, you get someone to hold you accountable and say, yes, I am going to go do this. Because when we come back, we're more rested. We're a different person. We've done things that might be different, and they stretch us. We never stretch back to the person where we were before if we push ourselves out of our comfort zone a little bit. So have fun, do new things, enjoy yourself, get out there and try things, and give yourself the space and time. And remember my song, I've got all the time in the world, okay? You will find the time. And when you come back, everything that was, clamoring for your attention will still be there, but you'll be so relaxed it won't even bother you so much. So what do you think? Tell me what you think, because I believe that this is one of the more important things for us. Life isn't stopping. We're not getting younger, and it's time to take those things for ourselves that really matter, because when we take that time for ourselves, it makes us a better person for everything else in our lives. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. I truly appreciate it. And please, if you have any questions or comments, let me know, and I will see you again next week. And next week, let's talk about whether or not you booked something, and I'll talk about what I booked, and we can compare notes. Okay. Thank you again for being here. See you. Bye-bye now.